People tend to be lazy by nature. We choose the easiest way to do and try, where possible, reduce stress. However, why is it so hard to do nothing? Rules of healthy way of life usually make us do something we don't really want to do: sports, eat more fruits and vegetables, quit bad habits. In a famous study conducted a few years ago at the University of Virginia, participants were placed in an empty room with no phone, books or screens and were asked to relax for 15 minutes. In fact, 71% of men and 25% women at least once pressed the button, yet remained in the room, and one party made a stunning 190 times. This experiment, of course, is an extreme case, but we know many examples from everyday life. When people do things that they don't need to do, sometimes these things are very heavy. Michael Slitt from the University of Toronto calls it the paradox of effort. Sometimes we do choose the easiest path to the goal, but in some situations we value the achievements more if we had to put in the effort. In childhood we learn that effort leads to reward, and over time begin to enjoy the process. In psychology this phenomenon is called acquired diligence. More than 20 years ago during a camping trip, I traveled to stunning colored lakes of Kelimutu on Flores Island in Indonesia. The lakes change color every few years is a mysterious and incredible sight. However, at least some of my impressions remained in memory because it is the effort that me and my partner had to make to get there. We had a few days to go on the boat and to go by bus, and few hours we spent in such shock that all passengers had to use the bags for vomiting. After that, we spent the night in a stuffy hostel with podavlini mattresses and cockroaches, and at 4 the next morning again boarded the minibus. To reach the lakes, we endured considerable hardships, but it was all part of the adventure. Near the observation deck was a place for the helicopter, which, obviously, brought wealthy tourists. But we are not jealous. They appreciated the beauty of the lakes as we did? Sure, no. Expert behavioral economics George Lowenstein explains that people can't resist the temptation to achieve a goal or master the situation, even when it's not necessary. The company discovered that people are much more valued household items if they made them with their own hands, and successfully built on its marketing policy. All this means that the forced and prolonged inaction, unless we are sick and our body does not require it, does not help us to relax. On the contrary, causes anxiety and irritability. It is a very useful activity that leads to a state of flow, that is, when a task is so absorbs us that we don't notice the time and stop worrying about everything else. Quarantine also gave us the opportunity to realize that by nature we are lazy creatures, and that the days when we are forced to rest more than work given to us, as a rule, more difficult.